Welcome to the Ausgel podcast, where we bring the gel ball community together. Each week we have a special guest where we talk about what's new in the world of gel ball, be it Milsim, speedball, and everything in between. Now, welcome to our host. Hi, I'm Dan from Ausgel.
And I am Scott Holland back from US Airsoft.
And today I'm joined by the star and the person behind the popular YouTube channel US Airsoft. Okay, Scott, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. You've gained a somewhat cult following here in Australia, but for those who may not know you, can you tell us a bit about who you are, like your background and how you got into Airsoft?
I'm actually a little surprised I even have a cult following in Australia. It's funny, it's because whenever I check my audiences, I'll see random bumps of, you're getting a lot of interest in Australia right now. But for me on the US Airsoft channel, ironically, the US Airsoft channel began as like a dump page where I'd put gameplay videos that I shot at my local airsoft fields there, just so my friends can find it and they would stop bugging me to send them through email over and over. Yeah. But now it's kind of evolved into gameplay videos, product reviews at the most like highest degree of honesty, where it's surprising I don't get kicked from more, like companies don't want me to ever touch their products ever again. Countdowns and some news reporting whenever I feel like it's necessary. There's a lot of things we skip that I don't think deserve any attention, really. But then there's some really big topics that I think people should know about a little bit more. So maybe we can try saving the game of airsoft paintball. And I guess now it's becoming a gel ball thing.
Yeah, excellent. Well, yeah, I mean, look, you do definitely have that cult following here. And it's funny because just recently, after one of our recent podcasts, I asked everyone, who do you want to see on here next? And your name just kept popping up. Everyone wants to see Scott from US Airsoft. So here we are. I actually, I'd had you on the back of my mind where I'm thinking, I'd love to get him on the podcast, but I want to wait till we build up the channel a little bit more and have a bit more credibility. And I was actually quite surprised when you responded. So yeah, really appreciate you coming along and showing a bit of love to Australia. That's for sure.
Not a problem at all. I try to keep my eye on like my Instagram page and my emails, like really intensely. If I can go without many messages hanging out in my inbox, then I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job. But then it gets flooded with all these scam messages that you could imagine.
Oh, I'd imagine. Yeah.
We can make your Instagram page blow up for $34 a month. No, get out of here. I'm not about to have my Instagram page stolen.
Man, my junk mail, a lot of that ends up there now in through the spam filters. And every day there's at least a dozen messages there from random scammers who want to change the world for Ausgel. It's crazy. But look, let's talk about your channel though. Was there a specific moment in time that saw your growth skyrocket?
Whenever I went to my first military simulation game here in the United States, it was put on by a company called American Milsim. They're still around, of course. It was called Broken Home 3. And it was in Oklahoma, like the very tippy top of Oklahoma, where you could basically walk into Missouri. After that, I think we went from like a couple, like maybe 40 or 50 subscribers, which were all like close friends, just people that wanted to see whenever I dumped gameplay. And then we jumped up to like 300. And that felt like we might have something here. After I started doing countdowns over just anything I had in my mind, things really started to take off there. And now, like when you take a look at my top 5 videos, I think 4 of the 5 are all countdowns and lists. Wow. So I didn't ever really want to become the list channel, because I always thought of channels that did that were kind of, what would you call them? Like content, dump channels where they would just make stuff quickly, like Watch Mojo or some other channels as such. So I tried to focus on the community and their builds, what they've put together, and all positive outlight. We're not making top 5 airsoft cheaters get blasted in the face, or top 10 most intense game, fight videos. Watch Stone Cold Steve Austin take out. No, we're not doing those kind of videos. And I've always refrained from ever doing that kind of stuff. And if I've ever made one, then I probably would take it down. If I don't think I've ever done anything like that, and I really don't ever want to have to stoop to that point.
I'd probably pay to watch you do that aggressive movie trailer voice as a bit of a backdrop to any video you do. I think that sounded great.
Have you ever seen Pablo Francisco?
Yes, I have.
the little tortilla boy.
Oh, I love it. Love it. Yeah, you could pass any day of the week.
I used to do that in Spanish class. I remember in high school and just
Yeah.
make my Spanish teacher so upset.
Oh, so Spanish is like another language taught at high schools over there, or?
In America, it's kind of the second thing you need to learn. Here in
Yeah.
South Texas, it's like 60 or 70% Hispanic.
Yep.
And my mother's Hispanic too. But my brother is 11 years older than me.
Yeah.
And they tried teaching him Spanish and English at the same time in the house. My mom would speak Spanish, my dad would speak English. But they kind of messed him up because he didn't know how to talk until he was like 4. And when they were going to have me, the doctor was saying, yeah, don't do that. Just speak one language and stick to it. So they only taught me English. So he can understand it. I don't, which is funny is because I make all these jokes like Mexican Tejano jokes here in some of my videos. But if you try to speak to me in Spanish, I'd be like, tortilla.
Yes.
Carne asada. Got it. So I'm a little bit lost on that still.
Yeah.
But I try to throw a little bit of the heritage still, just sprinkle it a bit.
Oh, that's cool. That's good to know anyway. But hey, look, coming back to the Gel Blasters though, when did they first appear on your radar as a topic?
Whenever I started learning that Australia had airsoft basically, I wouldn't say 100% like banned across the board really. It's more of like they restricted it in such a way where there's no point really, right?
Yeah.
Because you need special licenses and stuff, specific places to go to, and it's more of a hassle than anyone really wants to put up with. So when I started looking into that, looking up articles, reading about it, talking to other Australians, I started learning about gel ball and how they're trying to do speed QB, but with gel blasters and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, maybe that might be a way in for airsoft to somehow make its first few steps across. But then came, more restrictions and such. And that's when I made, I think, my last video with the really pissed off Australian in the very beginning, which someone told me I shouldn't have used him because he's actually a criminal. I'm a little lost. I guess I should have looked into that. Who was that I mememed on, if you can remember?
There was, are you talking about the one who was, I think he'd shot someone in the face with a gel blaster. There was, yeah. Let's check this out. What's the video? I probably recognize him.
It was the very last video I did about Australian bands.
There was, I think you did Bradley Phillips down in South Australia.
He seems, I don't
legit.
know.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be like, well, what you don't know is, but no, there was, I was making this little point because in the last video I did over the first ban that came out where you had 6 months to turn things in or get them registered. A lot of people were telling me, stay out of Australian politics. You have no right to be talking about this. No one needs to know about it. I got a lot of messages like that. Wow. Stay out of our politics. No one needs to know about it. Just let it go through. It has nothing to do with you. So I made a whole joke in this, in the next video that was, it's literally nerf or nothing in South Australia. And it was just a whole joke about it where I was saying something along the lines, it's like, hey, how about you focus on your own country and stay out of like us South Australia's. Yeah. And I don't know who this was. I literally found a single photo. I don't know if you can see this, but someone was saying you shouldn't use a photo of him because he's actually like some criminal here.
So he's a politician over here. But yeah, it's nothing for you to be too concerned about.
Okay, it was like 2 people out of thousands. So
it is interesting to hear that though, because what I can guarantee is that most of the gel ball community, I would say 99.9% of the gel ball community here is hugely supportive of any influencers out there who throw any kind of attention to what's happening here in Australia. So the fact that you did that, I think a lot of people were quite blown away by that and appreciative. And it's one of the things I've tried doing with Ausgel. I speak to a lot of other airsoft influencers to show Australian politicians and police that might watch this podcast, and I'm fairly certain they do, just to show them that this is a legitimate sport. It's not just limited to a few people trying to develop their own militia. These are people playing a skirmish sport. It's like paintball. It hurts a lot less. It's a lot more accessible for younger people. And, and all of a sudden, as soon as we've invited a few of these people to the podcast, you see a lot more acceptance. And that's why you being here is such a big deal for us as well, because we can use this and sort of say, hey, look, here's another person. Have a look at him. Look at the influence he has internationally, and people start to realize, oh, okay, this airsoft thing, it's a bit bigger than we initially thought. So, yeah, but anyway, look, as far as the legal issues go in Australia, just for clarity. So we've got South Australia, which is a state in the south of Australia, obviously. That's essentially what you had covered in your video, which was fantastic timing. And funny story from there is Bradley Phillips, one of the content creators down there. He actually recorded this video where he showed that he took a penis blaster, which is essentially a gel blaster molded in the shape of a penis.
I've seen that.
He took that into a police station and actually had it registered and a serial number engraved into the shaft of the penis.
Register that.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. But what's funny is he did mention that he wanted to do it as a bit of a satire sort of joke. But when he's taken it in, the cops were so over it. They're so over gel blasters and seeing this. He said they were just expressionless. They just went, yeah, okay, no worries. Here you go. Off you go. And
so there's no humor anymore. They're just annoyed. And
yeah, they're just annoyed that it's taking up all their time. And it's just nuts. But hey, look, speaking of influencers though, do you have any advice for Australian content creators who are just starting out on social media platforms?
Trying to follow, I guess, what like type of channel that they want to try doing, or some do they want to focus on music, tech, airsoft, gel, what exactly?
So stick to that particular brand.
No, I'm saying like what do they want to focus on channel wise?
Oh, okay. So content wise, talking gel ball.
Okay. Since if they're down there, they probably have the insight to tell people around the world how it is like there. So they can fill in a lot of people and try clearing up a bit of the confusion. Here where I'm in Texas in the United States, we don't really have those kind of restrictions or anything like that. As long as the replicas are sold with the orange, 1/4 inch of orange on the flash hider, which they overdo just a bit, just so, they don't have any problems with shipping and such. I don't have any restrictions to really talk about. What I covered whenever I was starting off was the lack of airsoft in Texas, and then things started to really get some traction as companies started getting interested here in Texas. Because back when I started, it was more of if you want to go play airsoft in one of the highlight areas in the world, you go to Japan, the UK, or California.
Yep.
And I tried to turn my state into one of those areas. So fields started opening, sales started being made, a whole bunch of players started getting involved in the game. And I guess I got a lot of traction from that because I would go show off fields that no one knew about. So I guess for Australians, I would say, try to focus on something that no one else is doing where you're around, because they can bring light to a lot of confusion. And you guys are in a hot spot for this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of topics, if you really start thinking about it, that you can cover and gain some interest. Especially, it'll get really popular with the locals.
Absolutely. No, that's some pretty solid advice there, man. And look, it's an interesting point you raised there as well with filling in the gaps. What I think a lot of our international audience doesn't realize is that we actually have another state, Queensland, which is where I'm based, and in Queensland, it's essentially like the Texas of gel blasters.
Yeah, I've heard about that. There's no restrictions or anything.
No real restrictions. There's a few of us in the industry, myself included, who maintains a very good relationship with our police minister, which is essentially the head of police for our state. And he's very supportive. I meet with him once a month, and there's information exchange both ways. And now we're in a position where we used to have, I think the police were recording something like 200 to 300 gel blaster incidents per year, which is still not many in the grand scheme of things. But 200 to 300 incidents per year still takes up a lot of time for officers. But in the last 6 months of this year, we've had 10. And that's because of an educational campaign we've put out there with the police, we've sort of said, hey, don't be stupid with your gel blaster. And it seems to have worked. So, yeah, when you're reasonable with people, it seems to
They
work.
can be reasonable as well.
Exactly. And yeah, so for anyone out there overseas who wants to come and visit Australia, Queensland is the place to come to for gel ball at the moment. So,
And how's that like for paintball and airsoft wise, or is that pretty much gone across the line for everywhere there?
so airsoft has it's been a bit of a struggle in Australia. Many decades ago, airsoft was legal here. Probably close to the time it was it was first created in Japan, but airsoft is technically legal, but you need a reason to acquire an airsoft gun. And at the moment, there's no way you can prove a reason because there's no airsoft fields. However, in Queensland now, there are hundreds of gel ball fields. There are many more, dozens upon dozens of paintball fields that have converted to gel ball. So gel ball has essentially breathed life back into another industry as well that was dying off in Australia. So it's been really, really good to see. But yeah, but what are your general thoughts on the legal issues we have over here anyway?
It's hindering to think about it, especially I don't see a reason really to have the bans myself, because I can't
Hmm.
really fathom something that would be so terrible that has happened that has, I guess, called for the bans of such things. Of course, there's confusion during, I guess, incidences where children are getting caught in the streets with police and they might have an airsoft gun or something that might look really close. And then we know, sadly, how certain things have happened. But I don't know. It's so mind bending sometimes to me. I need to weigh in all sorts of things. But me being, a Texas guy, I'm supposed to be no restrictions at all, zero, and I mean that. But I always try to play devil's advocate in my head to think about, okay, so why are there arguments from this side and arguments on that side? Do they weigh in properly? I wish that it could just be like how it is here in the United States,
Yeah.
where we don't have such things. And at the most in California, it's wrap some tape around the trigger guard, the pistol grip, and the stock. But then as soon as you get home, you can undo it. But now that I've heard of all sorts of arguments whenever I do make the news topic videos about Australia, South Australia, Queensland, and such, I do get those messages like, well, it's because of this. And, again, why should you be talking about this? You're just an American, all these crimes that happen in America, and you don't talk about those, you talk about us.
Yeah.
So I still want to learn it. I'm always in the act of trying to understand and research stuff.
It's
So
the best
actually
way.
doing this makes sense for me
Yeah.
a lot.
No, well, it's definitely the best way. And look, we've got some guests coming up on the podcast who are quite prominent political figures here in Australia, and I think, quite frankly, it'll surprise a lot of people that we've got their support of gel blasters. But I think a lot of it goes beyond the idea of gel blasters or firearms, and more about the idea of democracy in general.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, look, one such argument, the common argument we tend to hear from our politicians here is they look scary. They look like the real thing. Split second decision making. If a police officer's attending, what are they going to do? Blah blah blah. And initially, you can you sit there, you can relate, you sort of go, oh yeah, I sort of get that. But then, when you look at the nuts and bolts in Australia, you can still walk into any toy store and purchase a toy gun. It doesn't shoot anything; it just makes noises, but it'll have a red cap on the end. But ultimately, it looks like a replica firearm. And when they use that rhetoric, yes, exactly, spray paint. And I actually did a video recently where I went out and spent $10 on a toy gun. It was a shotgun. And
Mhm.
then I've gone out and shown that, you've got that $10 version and then you've got a $200 gel blaster. When you put them side by side, if it's a split second decision, you're not going to be able to tell either way. So it's not to palm the issue off onto another area, but it's more so to highlight the fact that, hang on a second, this has existed for decades in Australia. Why have you only got an issue now when we've got the equivalent thing? The only difference is it shoots a little water gel.
Mhm.
Um, and that's where I think, approaching it objectively like that with these politicians and explaining that to them Some of them will listen. Some of them just go, "Oh, I don't care anyway. Whatever."
Yeah, exactly. Especially when
Yeah,
it reads better as I was the reason to bring this many guns off the street.
exactly.
But then when you start breaking down what those guns
Yeah.
were, it's like, okay, like 100 of them were like real guns. But
Yes, exactly. It's all about statistics and metrics. So,
as I've
yeah.
learned from the Canadian video that we just did a couple days ago,
Oh,
5,000 guns off the street sounds a lot better than 200.
oh, because of that. Yeah. What's actually happening over in Canada anyway? Like, you seem to have your finger on the pulse with that.
They have a bill that was proposed, I think, 6 or 7 months ago called Bill C-21.
Yep.
And that is to basically do away with a loophole that has allowed airsoft to exist.
Hmm.
Their issue was, I can't remember the date exactly. They had a bill that passed long ago that made it where replica firearms were illegal.
Yeah.
So anything that looks like a real gun but doesn't fire. However, airsoft does fire projectiles, so it is considered, I believe, a firearm. So it actually got through because it's below a velocity, but it still fires a projectile. And this is to patch that situation. This is to basically do away with that altogether. And if it were to pass, then airsoft and a lot of realistic paintball, as long as the replicas of real firearms, will basically become illegal to buy, sell, or trade.
Like
So
collateral damage.
as soon as at some point it'll die off,
Yeah.
and you can't trade them, you can't give them off to anybody else, you can't sell them. So there's going to be no new players, and whenever the players that do exist start to drop the game at some point, then the game just ultimately dies. And being in contact with a lot of something's making noise in here. Being in contact with a lot of big collectors, I'm talking 200-piece collections with some really wealthy individuals. They're starting to panic a little bit, especially a few of them that have had a lot of attention put to these collections. And of course, this goes for any common player as well. If the game dies and they don't want to start paying whatever fees or anything that might get implemented as well, they're just going to have to get rid of everything and turn everything in and just be done with the game. And it's such a sad thing to think about, is this will make 40 or 60,000 players just drop the game ultimately. Canada is just basically a dead zone for airsoft. So I was talking with House Gamers Dayton and a few other people that are, of course, from Canada, and they're teaching me about their laws and what BSEC 21 will do.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to understand and take in, and I don't think I myself can cover everything, and that's why I'm hoping that more people will make videos on it, because they'll have a lot more insight to share to the world about it.
It's really interesting to hear, especially during COVID, because I mean, you would expect that politicians in Canada, surely there would be some politician there that would consider helping to fight for some kind of an exemption for airsoft guns, because I mean, it's not just the players, it's the community, the business, the industry over there. It's jobs during COVID that get affected.
There was actually a theory that it was proposed during the height of COVID, just because it would get swept under the rug a bit, and no one would even notice it. It was kind of the same situation when you guys had the first proposal to ban gel blasters.
Yeah.
Is do it right at the height, because people won't really notice it. But no, we did.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We definitely did.
And that's the crazy thing. So South Australia, obviously that state, that it wasn't completely banned. It just made it very difficult. And now there's something like, I think you can count on one hand how many retailers there are down there selling gel blasters now. It's very difficult to obtain one. But then you look across to, I should give some love to Western Australia, which is a massive state that covers most of the west of Australia. Those guys, they didn't get 6 months. They got 2 weeks. And the police commissioner over there essentially just came out and said, yeah, this is what's happening, don't care. And I remember listening to that media conference, even some of the journalists in the media were saying, hang on a second, what about all the businesses? And his response was, what businesses? What are you talking about? And I mean, there's there's a lot of businesses over there. They're all legitimately registered businesses operating in brick and mortar stores. And almost immediately, they're all turned off. And what was crazy about it was the police commissioner, sorry, and the minister for police. They were both there presenting these gel blasters as these horrific looking weapons, and to the media. But as they're doing it, they've got magazines in the gel blasters, and then they're lasing the audience. And all of us are looking at this, cringing at it.
As
And
you
to
guys
top
can
it off-
see,
Oh, yeah, exactly. And so to top it off, the police minister over there, he's ex-army as well. So I mean, that's drummed into your head even more in the military. And the fact that he's doing that, I think everyone was just gobsmacked. And the kind of comments he was making, like people were saying, "What about all the people that have just spent money on gel blasters?" His response for one of those questions was, "Oh, well, that was a bad investment." Can you imagine what that does to a community that's affected by COVID? Okay, so you're taking my job away, you're taking my hobby, and you said it's because I said so. So absolutely nuts. But that's being fought at the moment. There is a politician over there who works in the upper house of our parliament who's just put forward a motion to dismiss that restriction, and we'll see how it goes. So, yeah, so the fight is on there. But crazy. But anyway, all right. Now back to airsoft. Can you tell us some of your favorite and least favorite things about airsoft?
I've always kind of pointed this out whenever it comes to videos. I try to make these polls on my YouTube community tab that people get to just decide,
Yeah.
like what videos I'm making, or if I should make a video or not. There was one that I proposed a while back ago, if I should make a video as to why I don't like airsoft cheater videos. But I was getting a lot of people saying, you're going to throw a lot of shade at a lot of other YouTubers, and they're going to get really upset about that, because there are a few channels that's basically their hustle. That's their main bread and butter. Even if it's a whole 20-second altercation in a 20-minute video, it is title, it is a thumbnail, it has arrows, but it gets views. It gets a lot of attention. And I'd be crazy to think that it hasn't actually gotten players into the game. However, the amount of comments I've seen where airsoft gets brought up to non-airsofters, people that have nothing to do with the game, they're like, I'm not going to play a game, it's full of cheaters.
Yep.
And then they'll start naming channels that they've seen it, and the players that have been here for years are just like, oh God, this is why I hate airsoft YouTubers, because they think all of us are doing the same thing.
Has the opposite effect.
Exactly. And then there are a couple people in the game that do not care at all. They're going with the Jake Paul thing, where if everyone hates me, then everybody knows what I'm doing. At least everybody knows who I am. There's this dumb analogy I made where it's if Jake Paul, let's say him, if he ever got invited to the White House here to meet Joe Biden, he'd probably be the kind of person that would flick him in the nose, get tackled by Secret Service, but everybody will know forever that he was the guy who did that to the president of the United States. And they kind of have the same kind of mentality, is if I do the worst thing imaginable and talk like I'm a total jerk to everybody, everybody will at least know who I am. I couldn't care less about my respect or, integrity. So I don't want to do anything with that kind of stuff. I don't want any of the fight videos, the cheater videos, none of that kind of stuff. I'd rather highlight the good aspects of the game to get people into the game. So we have a video that I've just finished up the script for it last night, over 5 types of airsofters I love. Yep. And it's stuff like the newbie coach, the guy who's always teaching the newbies just how to use cover, how to move out of their spawn points, the guy who's always using unique guns and loadouts and that kind of stuff, because I think people would really appreciate that kind of stuff after all the toxicity and crazy stuff that we have in the game. That's more self-defeating, if anything. But absolutely. Again, I know a couple of guys that haven't ever done a cheater or fight video, but then when they do upload one, views are in the millions, and then they will never do one again because it's such an easy video to put out. Maybe they were really mad at that point and they thought it was a really good argument to show off. Yeah. So I guess I can't argue when it comes to payout or the attention those kind of videos get. Yeah. But if I can get away without having to do one of those videos ever, I'll feel a little better about myself, I think. and no one can point to me saying, well, you put this video up, you know?
It's almost like ethical organic growth that you're wanting to chase, which is respectful. I think that's a good thing, and and I think it's a good way to present yourself to people just joining the skirmish community, which is essentially Australia. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that people get to watch a channel like yours, and it's good that they're following it. It's
Like,
fantastic.
how would you think if like some anyone there
Yeah.
made a video about how gel blast like the gel ball community is just full of cheaters and fight videos and stuff like that. It's like that
Oh,
probably wouldn't go over very well with the politicians
yeah.
that already don't like the game, I assume.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of a few people have tried that here, but I think the beauty of people like you being out there is gel ballers have actually learned and heard that message from many airsoft influencers out there. And so I think that from the get-go, whenever those sorts of negative videos pop up, a lot of people call them out straight away. And so it hasn't taken off as much over here, which I think is really good.
Let's
Because you're
keep it
exactly
like
right.
that, I think,
Yeah,
right?
and that's it. And that's the beauty of gel ball in Australia. It's like the rebirth of airsoft. Only the difference is there is another industry that we can all learn from, and that's what's happening in Australia, which is the beauty of it. And I'm really hoping we see it open up in more states here and reopen in the states where it's been regulated. Because I think this could be a pretty big deal in Australia and the community.
Exactly.
The potential.
And I'm sorry if I'm
Yeah.
missing other halves of questions. I am very forgetful and I just go on random
Yeah.
tangents of ADHD. So
Oh no, that's all good. Yeah, keep it up. Yeah.
good thing I'm drinking a lot of this, right? Like
Yeah.
that's
Well,
that's gonna help the
just
situation.
don't have a heart attack on me, okay? All right. Speaking of which, actually, Monster Energy over here, they actually walked into one of the Gel Blaster stores just recently, asking to sponsor and promote events here. So,
That's funny, is
they've definitely noticed that.
I used to work at a Walmart here in Texas a long time ago, and they set up a booth and they were just trying to show off new products and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a video or anything. They left like this DVD back at the office for their TVs, and there was a lot of these TVs, and the booth was huge.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, what are we gonna put up?" And then I was like, "I do an airsoft channel,"
Nice.
and
Nice.
I put up on like a flash drive like some of my best like gameplay videos, and like,
Yeah.
this is actually some great stuff. It was filmed on a terrible Fujifilm camera anyway. And it's like, this airsoft thing is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And they'd look up my channel. Flash forward a couple years, and I actually got the phone number for one of the higher up marketing like representatives, like one of the managers or something. Just because I saw a truck driving around, and they were like delivering all these product pieces so they can advertise. Somehow I got this guy's number easily, and I gave him a phone call. No, I sent him a message, and he got really, really pissed about it. It's like, who gave you my phone number? It's like, yeah, you have no right to ever message me again. Don't ever. And it's like,
Wow.
sorry. It's like, I guess we'll just scratch that off of the list of possible
Jeez.
endorsements.
Wow, that's epic.
That was probably the worst response besides getting kicked out of an Adidas store in Las Vegas.
Okay, you got to tell us this story.
There was that was going through this point, and I still kind of am, that I want to get an endorsement or a sponsorship involved with a company that has nothing to do with airsoft at all.
Yeah.
Somewhere out of the box, because it might get some more influence on it, especially to a big company that has millions of dollars to blow on marketing and such.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I went on this idea of, let's try to get Adidas into the game, you know?
Yeah.
So I started talking to all sorts of store managers from different malls here in Texas, and I got pushed all the way to go to the one in Las Vegas. There's a huge store there, and that's where a few of the real big marketing guys for Adidas go all the time. Look for this guy named John. You know, I don't remember his name anymore, so it's best that we just go with John.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'll go meet up with this guy. And every year I go to SHOT Show in Las Vegas. So while I'm there, I'll just go to the Adidas store and ask for John. I walked in and I asked for him, and it was kind of the same response. Who told you that there's a guy named John here? And it was like, I'm sorry. And someone went upstairs and they talked to him and said that there's someone here to talk to you. He came down the stairs really pissed and like did not want to deal with it. And then when I just like talked to him about like what I'm there for, who I talk to, and what I do, and I showed him examples, get your stuff, go. And it's like, but
Wow.
I'm sorry, did I do something? Go. And they just shooed me off out of the store. I'm like, I don't know what any of that was about. Now reflecting back on it a little bit, it was a few months, I think, after the Mandalay Bay shooting.
Ah, yes, I'm with you.
So
Yeah.
they might have been flustered about that.
Yeah, that was a big deal. I mean, that was on all news channels here in Australia for a good 2 3 weeks, which is normally unheard of for any kind of shooting. You know, so I mean but that was a pretty horrific incident
That's
nonetheless,
still scary
especially
to
in Las
think that no
Vegas.
one really knows why that happened.
Yeah,
I
that's
guess
it.
now he just went postal sort
Yeah,
of situation.
because the dude killed himself at the end, didn't he?
Yeah, no
Yeah,
notes, no nothing. And then his brother was trying to give some idea, but then they caught him with a lot of stuff he shouldn't have had on his
yeah.
computer. And we're talking terabytes worth of
Oh
this
wow,
stuff. So
Jesus,
yeah, there's nowhere.
nowhere to
People
go.
don't really believe it was politically charged,
Yeah,
but there's now all these crazy conspiracy theories. And it's best to not even get involved with it. Leave it at
yeah.
like, yeah, he
That's a
probably just
huge rabbit hole.
he probably
But
just
yeah,
do something before I go kind of
far
thing.
out. Well, I mean, it'll be good actually because you know, are you going to be at the next Shot Show 2022?
Yes, as long as it doesn't get canceled. Right
Yes.
now, it's kind of this.
Yeah.
At some point, this might happen to me too, because a few of
Yeah.
the other big pro airsofters,
Yeah.
really high up there, they're kind of to the point where it's like, I'm not going to go to SHOT Show anymore. It's the
Yeah.
same thing every year, and it might happen to me, but I'm still on this thing. If you don't go to SHOT Show, then you kind of fall out of favor sometimes. It's easier to get your
Yeah.
business, like business contacts. It's easier to set up like collaborations and such. And if you're there getting the news out as fast as possible, then that's really helpful.
Well,
Years
that's
ago, it was a
yeah.
rush for who's the first person to the booths to get videos put together. But now people do them live videos a lot. So
Yeah.
making like a full production 2 or 3 minute video to get all the details out, kind of falling out of favor. And I don't want to do the live videos thing because I want to get all of the details nice, wrapped up, pretty with B-roll, so
Yeah.
you can see all the features and such.
Makes a lot of sense.
But yeah, I'll try to go to SHOT Show. There's nothing really holding me back as long as it actually happens.
Well, it's the same with us, mate. Like we've got a booth booked there, so with all things considered, hopefully I'll be there next year. But yeah, that's it's certainly been a place where a lot of connections have been made, especially in the gel blaster space. But yeah, I may as well just bring it up so I can see you've got a Gelstorm in the background there, which we sent across. Oh, wait,
Four.
that one? Yeah, four of them.
Four of
That's
them.
right, one of each color. And yeah, we've actually got a booth. We've already got it booked and paid for and everything over there, so we will be there. And
First
yeah,
time?
for me, it'll be first time. There are others in this business group who have been there quite regularly, and
Let me know later on
yeah,
what celebrity you run into first, by the way.
that'll be brilliant. Yeah,
It's happened a few weird times before.
yeah.
It's just kind of strange. It's someone you would never suspect ever kind of situation.
Oh, really?
Like Donald Trump Jr. was walking around one year
Oh,
and they had to
wow.
shut down a whole like section of the show because Secret Service was having a nightmare trying to get him through. And
Far
then
out.
Jesse James is there. I know he's kind of washed up. Then I bumped into Chum Lee, supposedly. I saw Ty Lopez, if you remember, just in
Wow.
here in my garage, my
Yeah.
new Lamborghini and Knowledge.
Yeah.
He was walking around. That guy walks around like a rich man. Huge entourage of people, my linebackers of bodyguards,
Far out.
women all around him, and Chum Lee too from Pawn
Chum Lee
Stars.
as well. Wow.
Yeah, that was a weird one. He just bumped into me and was like, "Oh, hi, what's up?"
So we have
Hi.
the same voice as well. I love it. He's an absolute legend. Yeah, my wife loves that show. So yeah, really, really cool. Well, something to look out for then, I guess. I mean, you know, for me personally, there's a lot of airsofters I'm always chatting with. Mark over at Red Wolf, I'm constantly talking to him, you know, most days
Great
of
guy.
the week. So we're looking forward to meeting for the first time. Same with Jet and Leah. I'm hoping to meet them, although I don't know if that'll be at SHOT Show, but I definitely looking forward
There you
to
go.
trying to meet them. So that'll be good. And yeah, and then obviously all the Titan guys, we've got a good relationship with them. But it's all these people you do a lot of business with. It'd be good just to see them in the flesh. And
There's usually some big
yeah.
parties that you can see everybody at too.
I've heard about this. Yeah, I've heard that once you're initiated into this inner circle, there are some nice after parties. So
I still remember the first time I ever went to SHOT Show. I got like plus one into a few like events that I really shouldn't have been at,
yeah,
and I made a few people upset until like I really had to explain myself.
jeez,
Because they would invite like all the people that everybody would know, and I was
yeah,
really tiny channel and nobody
yeah.
on my first SHOT Show. So people would plus one me at like events, and I would just be like, "Hi, I'm this guy from this channel no one's heard about.
I love it.
Why
I
is he
love it.
here?"
Oh, that's cool. Well, yeah. Hopefully, get the chance to meet you. But yeah. What are your thoughts on that Gelstorm anyway? Have you had a chance to pull them out, have a bit of a play with them,
I
or?
was messing with him. I put the one I had in the box back in the box
Yeah,
because my place, if you could see, is boxes and paper and plastic everywhere because I've been sent so much stuff in the past couple of weeks.
yeah.
So I've got towers of boxes and stuff
That's a
that needs
great
to get
problem
sent
to have,
out.
by the way.
It is. It's just when you wake up in the morning and be like hoping a little bit that somehow something's cleaned itself, and then you come out to the disaster zone.
Yeah.
No, I've kept them all together. I've looked up a few videos too. Thank you, Bradley Phillips. I've gotten a good idea of how things are. I kind of want to see if I can take one of these out to my home field to put together just a fun little video. But knowing how most engagements are anywhere from like mid and long range stuff where we're talking, I don't know the conversion process really.
Just go for the lob. You'll have to aim almost directly up into the sky, but eventually you'll hit them.
It's just mortar fire.
Yeah, that's a good way to think of it.
Compared to the stuff where I'm reaching out like 400 feet or so. Sorry, I don't know
We're
the
so
meters and
jealous.
such.
We are so
But
jealous.
yeah, back here I've got like my Galil and my Tokamori PSG1 and such. But I'm definitely thinking about taking out one of my DMRs, my M14 EBR system, and this thing.
Yeah.
Let's just say if anyone's being questionable when it comes to calling hits, they're not going to be.
We'll stop the questions.
Yeah, exactly.
I never really understood the idea of wearing a mouth guard in airsoft as well. And then someone explained when someone brings out a long range rifle and you get hit with one of those things anywhere near your lips, you realize why it is important.
My friend Connor, actually, years ago, we were at some party, and the next day we were going to go out to airsoft, and we were discussing like, why I've never wear one of those mesh masks, man, get in the way of me aiming down my sides. And they just look so dumb. Literally the next day, very first game, took a straight shot to his right front tooth. Gone.
Wow.
Gone. It will break teeth. Airsoft will shatter teeth. So since I like my teeth and I don't like to talk like this, and I don't have dental insurance right now, I'd rather keep mine the way they are. So I will never go into a game without something protecting my teeth. Whenever I'm filming third-person gameplay, I'm always wearing my dye mask because it breathes very well. I can see perfectly out of it. Everything important is covered. But whenever I'm actually playing, mesh mask always. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of which, so you mentioned dye and Ausgel. So we're the major distributor for dye goggles in the gel ball industry. But that brings me on to this question: Speedsoft or Milsim? Do you have a preferred style?
I don't have a preferred style. I've always said I do not care how you play airsoft, as long as you're following the rules and you're not a jerk. You can go in a chicken costume with I don't know if you ever seen them, the G&G SSG1.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't care if you go in a chicken costume and you're running one of those. Go for it, as long as you're following the rules and you're not drilling people just to be a jerk.
Entertaining for a video.
Exactly. So I filmed Milsim, I filmed Speed QB. I have friends who play both and will only play either, and then I have a lot of casual friends that don't care either. They'll play both games. They just want to have fun. And I feel about the same. I don't really do the impersonation loadouts. Well, the perfectly replicated, Army Ranger loadouts. I don't really tend to do that stuff. The closest I'll probably get is at some point I want to do a World War II kit with my M1 Grand. But I think that's the furthest I'll go. And I'm not going to start, dragging people down because they haven't perfectly replicated a loadout. There's no room for that. Even in Milsim, like the closest thing, like the most serious Milsims don't do that. And it's never even the military guys that do that. It's always the guy that wanted to be that kind of thing. So there's always a big shout out to the veterans in general, but the ones who just go out there to have fun and are not going to grill anybody or stroke their egos about their military service or their training or that kind of stuff. But no, I don't really have a preferred game style. I'll film both and I'll play both. I enjoy both of them, and I really have no problem with that. The only thing I have a problem with is there's this, we joke about it a lot, it's the angry teenagers, the ones that try to use Speedsoft as an excuse to go out and actually hurt people, and they they try to disguise it with SpeedQB or Speedsoft. But then real Speedsofters are like, no, we have no connection to this guy at all.
Yeah.
And it sucks that they get a lot of attention, either from people's first view to see what the situation was, or others in that same situation that think that's some great stuff, you know, that they drilled this kid until he cried or something. And then they go post it on TikTok, and then if you think views on YouTube, you think that's good? Okay, compare it to Facebook, where it's millions. If you think that's good, compare it to TikTok. I made a TikTok just to see what it could do. And I told nobody about it. I didn't tell any fans, family, anything. I only told my girlfriend that I made one. And in 2 days, I got 250,000 followers, and a video blew up to 14 million views. Whoa. And I don't know how. And I don't mess with TikTok anymore at all. It just happened. And I was like, yeah, there's really no skill in this kind of thing, is there? You just post as many, it's like throwing stuff on the wall and see which one sticks. So yeah, it's crazy. And then videos will get pulled all the time when people report them for whatever reasons they can imagine. And you can tell people are reporting your stuff a lot. I've had videos pulled for animal abuse. I don't get it. And it happens on Instagram too, where videos get pulled for stupid stuff. And then you debate it, and in minutes they come back. It's like, yeah, that was stupid of you. Y'all didn't even look into it. Y'all just took someone's report at face value. So every now and then I'll pop back onto my TikTok, maybe just to see if something get pulled down. And every now and then videos start disappearing.
That used to happen here in Australia. The industry, when it was in its infancy, basically you used to have this situation where posts would get deleted, pages would be temporarily disabled, and it was all surrounding this idea of people reporting posts. But it's funny because that used to happen quite a lot, and everyone would be blaming everyone else. But over the past sort of year, the community's really come together and starting to unify with these constant struggles we're having. And the job-all community in Australia, you see that a lot less now because, I think there's definitely a lot of credibility in what you're saying. Because if a business has a problem with another business, there's certainly ways they can screw with them, so to speak. But what's the COVID situation like over there, and how's it impacting Airsoft?
Whenever it first came, like, I guess stateside here, last January. Well, like 2020 January, I think, right?
Yeah, it was early 2020.
The whole every 100 years we have some other kind of like pandemic thing. You ever heard that conspiracy?
I have heard that conspiracy among many others, but yeah, there's a lot of interesting things I hear. Some of it I pay a little bit of attention to. Some of it I do have a bit of a giggle.
So at first, everybody shut down pretty much everything except for the smaller fields. Masks up, stay away from people situation. Then things start opening up whenever numbers, it's always like numbers have gone down. So we open up places, numbers went back up, then we close down places. And it's kind of going like that. But now that we're having this new Delta variant scatter out pretty much, we're waiting. I think a lot of people right now are waiting to see if we should start closing things down again. I'm going to go out to a field this Saturday. I'm fully vaccinated and such, but with all the weird news going around, I've heard people who have been vaccinated do not get it, or they do get it, but they're not affected. No, actually, they're the only ones that are getting affected by it. There's so much news, either fake or real, that I'm starting to get confused myself. I don't even know what the CDC thinks anymore because I've gotten both arguments from back and forth. So I'm going to go out. I'm of course, going to be cautious. It's not like I'm kissing and licking people, so I don't have to worry about
It'd
that.
be funny if you went out doing that though. Although I don't think your
Welcome.
girlfriend would like it. Yeah.
Hopefully you have a good day. Yeah, dude. But it's strange. The thing that kind of really sucks for me, I know is like, this is a dumb issue, but I wanted to go to Japan to go put together like 2 weeks worth of content covering a lot of the history of airsoft, collections that no one's ever seen, how airsoft is like and where it started, sort of deal. And because of COVID, we haven't been able to. So we have money put to the side to buy our tickets and get the hotel situated, but we've been sitting on it. And I got the money funded because of Airsoft GI, my main sponsor.
Yep.
And they made that happen. And I'm very grateful for that. The one thing I'm really surprised about is we were supposed to announce when we bought the tickets so people would know where their money went, because it basically was, you bought a mystery box and some of the money from the mystery boxes went to our funding.
Yeah.
And it got completely funded in like a week, I think, which was great. But then we put off the money to the side and waited till we could buy the tickets. Because if we bought them, then we'd waste all 2 weeks sitting in a hotel in quarantine. Waste of a trip. There's no point. So we're waiting until things open up again. And we have a lot of contacts in Japan that are saying, nope, don't get them yet.
Yep.
Okay, now, because when we're being told once they open up, tickets are going to drop somewhere between like $900. And we pulled in like and we got $1,400 from the funding. So we can pay off hotels in conjunction with other people to help things out. But I'm a little surprised because there's always those, suspicious people that no one's come out to say it was a scam or anything. And I'm really surprised by that, to be honest. It's just sitting right now in savings waiting. And as soon as things open up and it's a good idea to actually go, then buy the tickets. Let's go as soon as possible, because we're going to spend 2 weeks there trying to cover, again, the history, collections, fields, getting a lot of insight. Hopefully, very hopefully, we can make a trip being one of the very first persons to actually document Tokyo Marui. They don't allow anybody in there.
Yeah, they're very international anything, aren't they? They seem to be very much domestically focused in everything they do.
They don't care about the countries out. And what I'm being told is they're going from making toys to making replicas, because that's kind of what they were known for back then. And I've got behind me my old SPAS 12 and my old PSG-1 back here. And if you get them in your hands, creaky, bendy, they make the noises. My PSG-1 is nicknamed Creaky Old Bones.
Nice.
The joke about that is it'll hit something as long as the barrel is pointing towards it.
Yeah, nice.
So
does that. Okay. Nice.
So they're the only companies that really ever put those together in the quality they did, even if it was very dumbed down. That would just go to show you that you put up with this or nothing. But now we have the VFC gas blowback PSG-1. And once I have $700 to drop, I'll see if I can get one imported into the United States. They're kind of built too good. If you ever heard of Vigaforce Company, when they make gas blowbacks, they make them so well that the ATF and people that deal with customs look at that and go.
So Scott, mate, I'm blown away that you've given your time to the Gel Blaster community here in Australia. Can you please tell us how people can find out more about you, US Airsoft, and your sponsors?
Well, if you go to myspace.com, no,
Jesus,
DeviantArt.
Yeah.
So the main channel is US Airsoft. It's on YouTube. It's at almost 270,000 subscribers, which I'm pretty excited about. And thank you very much. I've got some stuff lined up to do giveaways and such. Whenever we start making like 275,000, every quarter 1,000, we'll try to do some more. But the main bread is the US Airsoft YouTube channel. Then we're on Facebook. It's just straight up US Airsoft. And this is the tricky one, but on Instagram, we are US Airsoft YouTube. It's a little convoluted, but I had a friend who accidentally made a US Airsoft Instagram page, and he didn't tell me about it until it was late. And then someone's trying to scam my followers by making their own Instagram. It's basically at underscore US Airsoft YouTube underscore, and they're asking for people's credit card information and stuff. And Instagram is fine with it. They see no problem in it. And I've reached out to them several times with screenshots, and they're like, we don't see a problem with this. And they're getting thousands of followers. They're fine with it.
Because YouTube would rather ban the actual original account to deal with the problem. Like I've seen
Screw yourself.
Yeah, that's nuts.
It's fine. I'll get my. I always feel like someday I want to wake up, my Instagram page is going to get deleted because I think I'm shadow banned. I bleed followers and I don't gain any anymore. And you can't find me on analytics websites. I don't pop up. So something's a little fishy with my Instagram page. It's just
something's happening.
And in my analytics, like the statistics on Instagram, if I click on it to see how far certain posts have reached people, my hashtags don't reach anybody, to maybe one person.
Interesting. So there you go, guys. Go and follow him on Instagram. Let's boost those numbers a little bit.
Let's do away with their shadow ban.
Yeah, love it. Anywhere else the guys can find you, mate?
I think that's about it. It's just the Instagram and the YouTube channel. And if you guys want to check me out on Facebook, it's just US Airsoft. We try to do our posts for all the reviews so you guys can pitch in some ideas or give your own insights on products that we'll actually be reviewing later on. The gameplay videos where we'll actually be filming in the future. I've got a bunch of events that are lined up that I'll be taking trips to from all around the United States, especially a Renaissance game, which I'm always excited to go to. Basically, it's a Milsim event, but it's played at a Renaissance festival, and every year it's great. So
fantastic.
I try to keep people updated.
Oh, good stuff, mate. All right. Well, yeah, thanks again. And ladies and gentlemen, as always, I'm Dan from Ausgel. You can find Ausgel at www.ausgel.com.au. Across all the socials as Ausgel, and on Instagram at Ausgelammo. And I think I need to actually go and make sure I'm following you on Instagram as well. So I'll do that straight after this. Yes.
And if you guys ever have any questions, just feel free to ask. I don't ever mind coming back on.
Awesome. Love it. All right. We'll definitely have to get you back on the podcast, mate. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for your interest in Australia. We do appreciate it. And mate, I hope you enjoy your weekend. Thanks again for coming. See you later.
Thank y'all for having me.
Thanks for tuning into our podcast. It means a lot to us. If you enjoyed today's podcast, leave a comment or review below and hit the follow or subscribe button. If you have any questions or want to be part of a future episode or even want to know more about Ausgel, head to ausgel.com.au to get in touch.